Hello, and welcome to this edition of Crawdaddy Cosplay. Today we will be building our Space Marine Universal gloves. This actually started out from where I'm working on the Grey Knight arms. I went ahead and decided to do gloves for it, but I get so many people asking me about gloves, and I usually just tell them use lacrosse or hockey gloves, that I decided to go ahead and push these out first. As a universal piece that you could use in any of the Space Marine armor that I make. So let's go ahead and go through the pieces. Let's talk a little bit about the design first. So for the fingers, piece one is the middle finger. I modeled the middle finger first. Pieces 2 and 3 are identical. And that's just based on the ratios of my hand. Scale as necessary on your side of the house, but I don't provide a template for 3. I tell you just copy or scale 2. I find copying my ring finger is the same length as my index finger, and piece 4 is the pinky, and that's scaled down. All these pieces go together the same, but the dimensions are a little bit different as I varied them to kind of match knuckle width and things like that. And then there's the thumb, which is piece 5 here, which is a little bit different because it has a piece that rests on the side of the hand for the first segment. And then we've got piece 6, which is going to rest on the back of the hand. So let's go ahead and dive in. We're going to start making fingers first. I'll walk through how one finger goes together, and then I'm going to repeat that 3 more times for the other fingers and not really talk about it, but you can watch, see what I'm doing. Now, the fingertips are going to look really weird. Let me grab one that's already done here. So you're combining these two shapes right here, and it actually makes for a pretty darn good finger tip. So something key to the construction of this piece is you will notice white and black foam on my table. This is all 2mm foam. You don't have a lot of real estate on your hands, especially between your fingers and stuff like that. So if you're thinking you're going to throw together something with 4mm or something like that, it's just, you're not going to have a good time. So here's the thing. For the pieces that go in between, that connect at the bottom, I need those pieces to be really rigid. I want them to compress when your fingers come together, but at the same time, I want them to hold their shape. I don't want them to relax. So these black pieces are a high density 2mm foam, and I will add links to the video, not so you'll buy from the people that I bought from, but you can at least look at the foam and look at the specs that are on there so that you can see what I'm using and buy something similar. So the white foam is a very flexible, low density foam, almost like cloth or paper, but it's very, very low density. So black is high density 2mm, white is a low density 2mm. But I got the low density I got from the Foamery a long time ago. The high density I got from TNT Cosplay, but I'll provide you links so you can read the specs and see for yourself. But let's go ahead and get started on, so what we're going to do is we're going to assemble fingertips here, and you'll just start on one side and work your way around, and it's going to get harder and harder. The reason we went with the really flexible foam here is there's no bevels on these edges. So I've got to put them, smash them together, and make a nice 3D shape like that fingertip that I showed you. And this flexible foam will do that, and it doesn't fight back. And because there's a lot of stress built into the seam that you've got on this, it's going to hold that fingertip in that nice shape that we've got. And then we've got the knuckle pieces. So what I did for these pieces, I did a 45 undercut and an overcut on the tips of these pieces. And I did that to give me more surface area for contacting at the bottom. when I glue it, I'm still going to put some tape on there as a little bit of an insurance policy until it's able to set up for a bit. And then as you'll see here, I'll show you. They hold together quite nicely on their own. You just got to give them the time. Got to give them a little bit of time to get there. So I built the right side already as my prototype. I had to build a couple of them to get this template down pat. It did give me a little bit of trouble. But today we're going to go ahead and build the left hand, the left side, and get that out of the way. The template's going to come. So the fingers and all except for this piece 5 delta on the thumb are symmetric. So you can make those from the templates right away and go right or left hand. Piece 5 delta, 5 echo, 6 alpha, and 6 bravo. These 4 pieces right here, you're going to have to mirror to go to the right hand. All right, so let's go ahead and mask up and get started. So I'm going to do all the fingertips first, get those out of the way, and then connect the knuckle pieces. So let's talk about these Part 5 Delta, which is just like your base thumb piece. So I use the low density foam on the outside, and for these pieces that don't wrap around, or like with the fingertips, right, they form a nice concave shape, a nice dome shape, so that holds the shape for you. We're not going to get that for the piece that goes on the heel, the palm, or on the back of the hand. So what I've done is I use the 2mm low density, and then I take a piece of the 2mm high density, just an outline of it, and we'll glue those together. And that high density forcing it, and the glue is going to hold it in the three-dimensional shape that we want because it's smaller. So just letting you see what's going on there. Just waiting for this to get to the point where it's ready to use. I think we're there. All right. And like I said, you just follow it around, putting the two sides together, perpendicular, just pushing the walls together. Pushing firmly. And this nice soft foam just contours to the shape that you're asking it to do. Doesn't fight back too hard. But because it has a real good shape to it, it will hold the shape that you're asking. Even though it's pretty weak material. And there we go. That's middle finger right there. I just flip all y'all the bird. I'm sorry about that. Alright. Now for the index finger. And these pieces are definitely easier to start out than they are to finish. But you may have to try a couple times before you get it down pat. But I was driving myself nuts with the high density foam, trying to get it to stay in shape, taping it, doing everything I could. Just was not doing the job. There we go. All right. That's the index finger. And then the middle finger. Sorry, ring finger. Should be roughly the same. If you're not getting the same for your index and ring, by all means, scale template 2 to get template 3, piece 3, wherever you need it. Pinky's the smallest one. It's definitely one of the harder. Pinky, middle finger, index, ring, and then thumb, which is the biggest. And if the shapes you're noticing are probably different between these, and that has a lot to do with the cut following a perpendicular plane in the shape of the piece. So the thumb is shaped a little differently, which is why you see the cut looks a lot different. One would almost say weird. But once you get the whole thing together, nice little thumb there. So that's the flexible. That's good stuff to have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's get some tape ready here for these knuckles as we build them. We'll let those sit 15-20 minutes. Tape comes off. Everything's fine. Now, you may, if you're going to wear this to a convention or something, not just take it, do a photo opportunity or something. I mean, it may be worth it to reinforce this joint at the bottom with maybe another piece of 2mm across the joint. Or maybe hit it with some crazy glue or some sort of staple. Put those two 45s together and press hard. And we're just going to put a little tape just as an insurance policy. That one feels like it would probably hold regardless. So I didn't go with a very, when I designed these, I wasn't thinking of having a very thick underglove, just because, like I said, it's already, when you put a thick work glove on, like I originally started with something like this. But even then, just sliding the knuckle pieces on, like you couldn't, you know, my hand was splayed out just trying to do anything. So I'm going to recommend just like a simple spandex glove. Get black spandex or whatever it is you want to get. Now, you can glue this stuff to your glove. It's going to fall off. It's just a matter of time. But I mean, as long as you're ready for it, right? And you see the little cosplay repair stations at different conventions. What I plan to do is, you'll notice here I've already put one button on, or the little holder for the button. Eventually I'm going to get buttons where each of the key pieces go, and just use buttons to click on and hold them into place, and go that way. I'm also looking at possibility of, they make sew-in little tiny magnets you can sew on, and then just put the little tiny magnets on each of these pieces, and they'll stick on where they're supposed to go. You could get away with only gluing a few pieces for this if you wanted to go the glue route. Well, so before we do that, let's go ahead and get these other two pieces done. That will give these more time to set up anyway. So we talked about these pieces, and we're using the rigid to hold them and keep them in shape, but we're using the ultra light density to keep them nice and flexible. This is on your hand, you're moving. I mean, it's going to feel like you're able to open and close your hand. I wouldn't try typing, but I've tried to keep the weight down and the thickness down, to the point where the parts that actually interface with the hand here, I've tried to trim away as much as I can. So let's go ahead and get this part here glued up. So we got a minute here. If you want to fast forward, now would be a good time. Otherwise, I'm just going to run my mouth for a little bit. What I will be doing for the different armor sets that I do to go with the universal hand, I may add details and sell those details as part of the set. I'm not going to include the hand itself in the raw template of it in any other pattern, because I don't want to make it to where you buy this And now if you want to buy the arm, you're stuck buying a hand pattern you've already got. So what you'll probably see is like a template for this piece right here, but with a skull that can go on it, or maybe spikes to go on all the knuckles, things like that. Now there's not a lot of flex to this piece right here, but you should have to be moving the part to make these joints come together. You should be having to flex it a little. This does have a little curvature to it. You shouldn't be able to lay them flat and put them one on top of the other. If you can somehow do that, you're doing it wrong. There we go. See how that holds it in a nice 3D shape? And you can use this as your basic layer to stick that to the back of your hand. But it's nice. It's 4 mils total, well 4 millimeters total on the thickness on that because of the supporting piece. So it's not a hefty piece. And the high density stuff is just a cutout, so it's pretty darn light. This one has more curvature to it, so you'll notice I have to flex it a little bit more to get the registration marks to line up. There we go. Nice curved shape to that now. Thanks to that piece that we put on there, and that's just going to go right on there like that. All right, let's get to showing you how we're going to put these together. So I was talking before, if you wanted, you could get away without possibly attaching the first 2 knuckle pieces that overlap, one piece on the thumb, because the fingertips, if you attach the fingertips, they'll keep those from slipping off, and these are kind of designed, they mesh pretty well. They're not, the problem is they will roll if you let them, so if you don't, you might still need something to do to stabilize them. So let's go ahead and start putting a finger together. Let's go ahead and start with the middle finger. Now there's lots of different schools of thought on how you need to attach foam to your gloves. I'm not going to make that decision for you. I'll tell you I did the crazy glue for the right-handed one that you're going to see in the photos for this piece on my store. It gets hotter than you think when that glue's curing. I had a glove on underneath just like I do right now. I mean, when you take the glove off, it's hard. You probably want something to allow you to take the pieces off and then take the underlying glove off. All right, so 2 is the index. Sorry, no. Yeah, 2 is the index, 3 is the ring. 4 is the pinky. So the deltas go, the charlies go, then the alpha and the bravos. 1 is the middle finger. 5 is the thumb. Starts 5 Charlie, 5 Delta, goes on the heel there. And you're just going to have to make these and try them on. Like I could probably make that pinky just a little bit smaller, but it doesn't have any trouble staying on. So I'm not too worried about it. So you see there, I got the hand, flexes. Right? Probably don't have to worry about gluing those. But then what we want to do is just kind of pull up that one Charlie so it overlaps just a smidge the Charlie pieces to get the Alpha and Bravo pieces underneath it. So this is the fingers. Like I said, you can hold a chain sword or a bolter pretty easy. And you want to glue or attach that on somehow, maybe even Velcro or something to get that on. And then the handpiece, you're going to want that to kind of line up with where these are. And you've got a little groove there for your thumb, but you can see that's how you would do that right there. So that is my Space Marine hand. I hope you like it, and I look forward to seeing you on either crawdaddycosplay.com or my Etsy store. Thank you very much for your time.